Hello and welcome back to the Making It podcast. We are here for episode 61. 61 episodes, Dan. And we were actually just talking. Hello, Dan. It was episode 21 was our last one in the UK, which would mean that we are 40 episodes deep, or 39 episodes deep, I suppose, into me not being there. And we were kind of just talking about when we're back, and it's within the next 10 episodes, which is absolutely crazy. So we're in that very last period. Dan, good to have you back, mate. How are you doing?
Likewise, bro. It's good to be back. It's good to be talking, bro. This week's been a really good one. Often when people ask how you are, you just go, "Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm all right." But recently, I've been like, I'm really good. Like when people ask me how are you, I'm like, I'm really good. I feel like I've been saying that now for quite a while, and it's good stuff. I've been in a really good place, and I was walking back from Scarlett's today because I woke up there this morning. We went for a run, and I was coming back home, and I was just having a little chat to myself, and I was thinking like just about life, and I was getting a bit like spiritual in my head, and I was thinking like if you really strip life back to its bare bones, like what really matters to me, and I was thinking like human connection, love, making an impact, and I was thinking about like I just kept thinking about these sort of topics throughout the day, and I was like, you know what, these past 2 months have been the best of my life. But then I feel like each month gets better and better. I feel like I learn more about myself and others more and more. And I'm just excited, man. And I just feel like I've been in a good place for a while, and things are looking good. But this week's it's been a good one. More experiences, more learning times. No football game this week, but had a good weekend. Went and seen a Brazilian band on Saturday night. I'll get into that a bit more later. Coached with the Freeze, got to take their whole session, so that was exciting. And then I also just had a good week. No uni, so the reading week. So I got some of my coaching tasks done in terms of UEFA C. But I'm feeling good, brother. I'm feeling good. It's been a good week, and I'm excited to dive into it. But bro, how's your week been? Because I know it's been chill, but then towards the end, it's been not so chill in a good way.
So I echo what you're saying, Dan. It's been a really good period, I think, of just life, to be honest, bro. I can't actually tell you one set thing that's just going well. But even with the constant changing of weather, which we sometimes label to bring us some sort of weather-related depression or anything like that, all these different factors that would usually be something I blame on maybe me not being so happy on, I'm not blaming them anymore. So I feel really good. I think the weekend was mad. We got this thing called Mardi Gras, which is like a celebration of, I think, of everyone's expressions and doing what they want to do in their lives, and it's a huge thing in Sydney. I didn't really know this because Mardi Gras in the UK is just not really a thing, as far as I'm aware. But I come out here and it's like the biggest day of the year for a lot of people. So it was a nice experience to see everyone having a good time. It was nice to see everyone smiling, because there's all sorts of horrible stuff going on in the world right now. And, I'm sending all my love and thoughts to people that are affected by what's going on at the moment in the Middle East. But, it was nice to see people coming together and just having a good time. And it was hectic. It was so busy and there was so much going on. I stood outside, had a beer for half an hour and was like, I'm going back into my room. I went home, showered, Dan gave me a call, had a little pep talk, and I'm like, right, I'll go out, fine. And convinced myself to go out.
Your bottle of champagne.
Yeah, the bottle of champagne nearly took my eye out, but it was good fun. The next day we had the staff party, and admittedly I drank a little bit too much, so I got cut off at my own staff party, and it was very embarrassing. So, but I put in a good shift. It's an open bar. If no one's going to drink all the beers, then I'm going to drink them. And you know what, Dan? I was drinking Coors, right? And I'll give Coors something. It's actually not that bad. I've been talking.
Brother, mate, isn't that just, it's special to hear, bro, because you're in a position now where you can go to a staff party and drink that much, you get cut off because things are a lot more stable. Things are in a position where you can go out and have fun, and it's not going to be a massive consequence because you've got a good base now. I know sharing with lots of people is agitating you in small moments as it would to anyone, but it's great. It's great to hear you having that sort of fun, and I think having an environment where you feel stable enough to do stuff like that is, as much as it can get quite normal. It's good to realise that it's great to see you in that position. And I think going out and just having fun is such a good part of life. I think it's something we all need to make sure we're doing. At first when my housemates mentioned going to see the Brazil band, at first I said no, because my mate Adam came up to visit. I almost forgot about that. Adam came to visit last week. It was good to see him, and we had some good time together. Had a good meal. He came to watch the football with me. Our uni, they got through to the final, so that was class. But at first I said no, because he had come up. I'd been for a date night with Scarlett, and I spent a bit of money, so I wanted to kind of save money, have a bit of a chill weekend. But it's £12 for a ticket, and I had some drink at home, so I didn't need to spend too much. So I ended up doing it. I think I was always going to end up saying yes, but my first reaction was no, and I found that interesting. And I think it's so easy sometimes to say no to things at times because we've got a plan in our heads, or we want to save a bit of money, or we want to have a bit of a chill one. But I'm so happy I went there on Saturday. I made more memories with my uni mates, and it's something I won't forget. The Brazilian band was really cool to jive to and dance to, and we get a bit of vibey to it. It was good fun. And also from that night, I wanted to mention I was volunteering that day with British Gymnastics. I did it last year, and that was crazy because that was a year ago today. I also did that for the first time. So it's weird when things repeat in a year. You're like, whoa, that year went quick. It kind of takes you out of surprise. But I was a bit tired. Even one of the people who run the volunteers was like, "You're looking a bit tired, Dan. You go out last night?" I was like, "Nah." But I think it's just when you've done 4 hours of like constant, like you're almost acting in a way because you're being like a volunteer. You got to be nice to all the people coming in. And I came back and straight away we were preying. And small things were like agitating me like a little bit. Like the tiniest things, like my housemates like pulling on my hair a little bit as like a joke. But what was nice is like, I think it's good to have people around you who can notice that. Luke noticed it, and he just said, "Oh, Dan, you're all right." Like, we had a little chat about it. And it's something small, but sometimes small things can make a difference. And after having a chat about maybe getting a little bit agitated over, even if it's small things, it didn't cause a problem. It relieved me for that night, and I ended up having a good night. So I think it's good to notice when people are a bit more off, because I think it's those times where sometimes someone could be a bit off, where you kind of talking to them in that moment actually prevents them from things getting worse, for them being in their own head, bottling it up. And I think it's good to notice your friends when things are slightly off. I think it's good to ask those questions and poke a little bit. And, not to keep talking for too much and keep you holding back, Jamie, but I went to watch a short film on Thursday at the uni, and it was about suicide prevention, and really, really good film, really poignant. But one of the things that one of the suicide prevention charities said was, it's good to poke. It's good to like go that bit further, like ask, "Are you all right?" But then actually like, tell me more, like, how are you actually doing at the moment? And because we have that front surface, like I said earlier, when people ask, "How are you?" say, "Oh, I'm all right." So I think it's good to poke and speak to your friends and, actually understand their situation a bit more. How do you find that in life? Because I know you've had some conversations when it comes to relationships and stuff like this, where you're giving some time to friends. And I think it's important to give people that time. And I know we ended the podcast last week about giving people that ear.
It's all about pattern recognition, bro. You know how people are when they wake up in the morning. If you truly know them, you know what they're like in the morning, you know what they're like just before they go to sleep, you know what they're like throughout the day, usually. You know when they're not feeling so great, the days they're going to be feeling pretty good, because you can just work that out. You can just work that out. And maybe you don't really give enough time to it, but I just think as you get to know people, you get to know their patterns and the way they act and the way they move, the flaws, the pros, all these kind of things. But, when you notice something is off, I always think it's best to be like, "How are you?" Like, just make a conversation about something completely different. Like, "What do you get up to this weekend?" "Oh, no, nothing." "All right, that's said enough for me." One word and two word answers. I'm like, "Nah, come on. Like, let's talk." And I'm like, "We're mid shift. Do you want to get a beer after work?" "I'll pay. I'm taking the piss. It's a staff drink." Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, "I'll pay, don't worry." Just have a little joke with them. And because I think, like I was speaking to someone yesterday and they weren't feeling too great. And I'm like, when you can just tell. And I asked them the first time, everything good, and they ignore it. And I'm like, that's okay. They don't want to talk about it. So I'm like, "Well, look, I know something's not right. You know something's not right. We'll have a chat about it after work. But just look after yourself. You know what I mean? For now, look after yourself. Let's get through this shift together and just look after yourself. And I think that, I just think, the prodding thing is true. You should definitely prod. It's just about working out when. And, I think when you're in work, the best thing to do is be like, let's set a time after this. Or do you want to grab coffee in the morning like it's my day off? Like, what do you want to do? Those kinds of things, I always think are the best. It's important that you don't overdo it and pander to people too much. I don't think people don't want to be hugged randomly sometimes. They don't want to be told that they're the most amazing person in the world. I just don't want you to feed me bullshit to keep me happy. That doesn't make me happy. I don't want you to tell me I'm the best person in the world. I don't want you to tell me I'm great at something because you think it's going to cure my insecurity. It won't. That won't happen. But you know what will make me feel good, even if it doesn't cure what I'm feeling? Just sitting down and having a chat. And the moment, everyone has a different moment that brings them clarity. But for me, Dan, the one thing I've done that has massively helped me is, again, I've said to you about my to-do lists. That's something that used to really stress me out and keep me down. And I can't really talk to someone else about that because it's the most pathetic thing ever. Because they'll be like, what do you mean? Just don't have one. But it is just as simple as that. I just don't have one now. But the moment that brings me that clarity, bro, is just having that coffee. Like yesterday, I was feeling pretty hungover. I'm like, I haven't got work till 5. I got all my house errands done. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I do just need to sit and think for a little bit. And yes, I'm reading a book and indulging in someone else's life. But after every chapter, I like to just sit there for a couple of minutes and just think, look around and just think, like, what am I going to do today? What am I going to do? What have I got to do for Byron Bay? Like, what have I got to try and, all these different things. And I just want to make this last couple of months the best time ever. And I think that it was actually nice because someone at work said to me yesterday that we were having a chat and they went, are you homesick? And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I am a bit homesick. And we just had a chat, even just for 5 minutes before a customer came.
Even just that one question, man.
But just for someone to ask me that,
Opens
I was like,
up doors.
But I feel like people don't ask me that question very often. I feel like I am someone that asks people a lot about how they are, how these things are going. And I feel like people from home ask me, but people here, I don't feel like I get asked that much, which is not a problem. But it's just like, when someone asks me, are you homesick? I'm like, yeah. Well, let's have a chat about it. I didn't even know I wanted to have a chat about that today, but I do. You just discover these things. And that's also the importance of having good people around you who recognize patterns when you don't. Because sometimes, bro, all you need is just someone to just be like, what's going on, bro? Ask you about your football match. Why do you care? It doesn't matter that you care, but you care. That's enough for me, And we've got to be grateful for those people, man. We've got to be so grateful for those people. But I think that just having that little poke and just trying to bring someone's day up, we could all do a bit more of that.
Mate, 100%, bro. And talking about football, just to link it into, I was after coaching on Monday with the freeze, I was thinking back to myself, like, this time last year, where was I with the football coaching? And I know it's something we speak about a lot, but I think it's because we both really enjoy it and it's a passion of ours. And I know you're buzzing to get back into it, and this summer there, you should be seeing me and you coaching together, so that's exciting. And I was like, wow, this time last year I was starting to get into it a little bit more with my confidence, but still wasn't getting results with my team, and we were losing a lot, and I wasn't as confident, and I was holding myself back. Whereas this year, there's a confidence within me, and the results do help, but also a year behind my back does help as well. And I don't hold back as much now. I'm confident. I'm trying to lift players up. I'm doing things. I'm trying things. And last year, I was holding myself back because I didn't want to get things wrong. And I think that continuum of holding yourself back to just believing and doing it, it's a difficult thing at times because we can find ourselves in that holding back position. But when we have that confidence and we're just trying things and we're doing things, and life ain't going to be perfect, but we can at least try and find out and find solutions and see the results, find the evidence. That's the journey. We spoke about the journey last week, and just sometimes I think it's cool, to have those moments to look back. This time last year, where was I? And with the team gym thing, obviously with the British Gymnastics, that was like, oh wow, that was a year ago. Where was I last year? I was doing a lot with the coaching. I was getting experience, and I was very ambitious last year. But I think this year it's been quite nice to actually be ambitious, but also in a bit more of a settled down way, not putting too much pressure on myself, not always thinking about the next thing. We spoke about thinking versus doing a few weeks back, and I was thinking about that today, and I was thinking, I feel like I've been on that doing side a lot more, which is good. Don't get me wrong, I think and I prepare well, but I'm actually doing and trying, and the action is more of the product as opposed to actually thinking about the product. And it's cool to look back, and I think for you it's obviously this time last year you were still in the UK, you work at the pub, and you I think by now you'd had Australia pretty much booked in. You were saving up the money, and to actually be there where you are now, and I'd ask the listener right now, where were you this time last year, and how far has life come for you? And I think Jamie,
Newcastle,
what's that?
Around this time last year, I would have just got home from Newcastle.
That was about a couple of weeks ago. That
it was it was like late February.
That's early March now, kid.
Yeah, but it was around this time.
Yeah, I think the staff party was like 24th of Feb. I'm sure it was something more like that.
Yeah, it was around this time. It was only like a week ago or something like that.
You were saving up for Australia right around this time last year, surely. And so how is it for you now, like a year on, being in the experience and like that idea came into fruition? Like, what's that like for you now?
Well, I mean, it's always easy to look at the negatives first, and it's just like, I wish that I'd done the start a little bit differently. But I view it now as this: there is no failures, only lessons. And I've learnt a lot. And the best part about this is that this is the first time I've done it. So the next time I've done it, I know what to do. I've got friends here who are happy to let me stay on their sofa until I find a place to live. Not that I really like to do that, but I have that. I know how work operates out here. I've got experience under my belt in a job, 2 jobs. I think I know enough people, and I've built myself a good enough base to come back here and be comfortable.
Based on that, what are things that going into it you kind of expected which didn't happen, or things that didn't happen which you never expected, if you know what I mean? Well, what were things that you imagined but were completely unrealistic?
Consistency. At Bex, I expected there to be a consistency to the point where within the first 2 months I could get a job, and obviously going to WA and stuff was amazing, and I'd never ever complain about that. I'm still very grateful for all this kind of things, and we'll kind of touch on that actually in a second. But I just thought there'd be consistency. I thought we'd live somewhere, and yeah, some of it was out of our hands, but some of it wasn't. And I just don't think that I was offered the support she said she offered to be able to help me get a job. Given the fact, I don't drive, but she constantly vilified me for not being able to drive. And it was just like, I feel like sometimes the way that she dealt with problems was more, let's blame someone until someone else does something, as opposed to, let's just fix the problem. Like, she'd rather there be like a period of drama for that. And I'm like, but I just want to get a job, and then I applied for places, and things just weren't really going my way in a lot of respects.
So you thought you would get work a lot quicker than you did?
I think I'd get into a job, and I thought, okay, I'll probably have half my savings left, but I'll have a job. So all my savings money can just stay there. The savings will just be there for when I want it, and I'll just have money just to spend and have a bit of fun with throughout the week. The football thing went better than I thought it would, though. Gold Coast United, I think, without that, I don't know what I would have done. Like, without Matt picking me up at 5 a.m. on Saturdays for tournaments, without him coming and picking me up at 8 a.m. on a random day just to go and do football coaching with him from 10 a.m. till 10 p.m. and not get paid a single penny, to go and referee those absolute arseholes, like the horrible Palm Beach players that, threaten me and all sorts. But without any of that, bro, I don't know where I would have been, because that kept me going. That was like my busyness, and when I'm in a bad position mentally, the best thing I can do is work and keep myself occupied. That gives me peace. And Gold Coast gave me peace. It taught me a lot. learned a lot of things, good and bad, and that kept me happy. But I guess looking back, I just wish that I had a bit more savings and that I didn't have to go through what I went through at the start of moving to Sydney, and having the problems. And luckily, again, my mum bailed me out and helped me, but we don't all get that lucky. And I'm very grateful for it. But, it kind of makes this part more fun, and I say it's only got fun at the end, but it didn't. It didn't get fun just at the end. It got fun in November, July, August, September, October. 4 months. I've been here 9 months now. So for most of this time, I've been having a great time. It was only the first 4 months where I could say that maybe it wasn't perfect. But overall, bro, maybe I was building up this image of it was going to be some sort of fucking paradise, And I think now I'm just realizing it's just a totally normal place, and it is what you make it. It's what you make it, bro. I know people that have flown home now. They couldn't find a job. Things weren't going their way, and they were like, I just need to get out. Each to their own, bro. But I would rather I'd rather sleep on the streets and make it work than go home. I said to myself, I'm coming out till this date, and I'm gonna be here till that day, bro. That's
just like Matthew McConaughey when he said that on his podcast on Derby CEO about that period where he could have gone back, but he said, no, I set myself out to do this. And mate, be proud of yourself, man. What are small things in your life that are actually big, if you know what I mean? The small things that matter, the small things that keep you ticking, like the cogs and the wheels that are very small, but they make your machine tick. Like, what are small things? Because Judy's been sending me quite a few messages lately saying how small things, when they're loved, when they're nourished, they actually make such a big impact. And other than just an oat cappuccino, banana bread.
Very simple, bro. Genuinely. I mean, I walk into my cafe and they know my order now. But it's just like, but if it makes you happy,
it's amazing.
Do it more. If it makes you happy, do it more. That is my message to you now on this podcast. If it makes you happy, fucking do it more. I don't care what anyone says. Do it more because it's the best. And I think the small things that matter to me, Dan, are the moments where I'm alone to enjoy my own company and the moments where I'm with all my friends to enjoy their company. And there's a nice balance of those two things. But it's kind of hard to say where I'm completely at happiness with these kinds of things because, I mean, various different places bring me happiness. And then on some days they don't bring me happiness. I guess music, right? Music is a huge one, bro. And I actually got a tattoo this week. And you've already seen it. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to show you because it's just the angle is horrible, but it's the Wish You Were Here album cover. And I was speaking to a taxi driver and we were talking about music and he's like, how old are you? You sound like you're 70. And, we were kind of talking about it. And I thought, I'm going to ask you a question, Dan. And this is completely kind of not off topic, but it is related to it. Do you think people avoid like older music for the sake of looking cool to their mates?
I reckon some people do. I think a lot of the people around me don't. A lot of people around me do. I mean, I think my Spotify age was like 69 or something like that. I think it was actually 67, actually, unironically.
Shut up, bro. Don't start that.
But I think some people definitely do. I think older music's the best music in my opinion. Mate, this me, man. But I think definitely growing up, when I was 14, I was listening to a lot of rap. And it's interesting, like the music development, how it shows you as a person development. Rap used to be a lot of the thing I listened to, and then now I listen to a lot of older music. But I think for sure, and I think if anyone's doing that, it comes from more of a place of like wanting to look good, wanting to feeling a bit insecure and stuff. And me and my friend Luke were talking about ego today and how being humble is such a great thing. And I know that's so different to you speaking about music, but I think being humble in the music you listen to and being humble in everything you do in life is so important. As soon as that word ego comes into things where we let that overrule us, I hear it in sport a lot. Oh, they've got a big ego, or we're not connected as a team because of too many egos. And as soon as you realise that no one cares too much in a good way. Obviously, we want to care about each other, but just drop it. We're all on the same page here. We're all in this together. Let's connect as people and be humble, man.
And I was having a conversation with my stepdad. So me and my mum were having our normal FaceTime, and she walked into my room, which is now a laundry room. Can you believe it? Devastated. My room's an absolute mess.
She told me about this already.
Oh, it's a bloody mess. Poor Brian Clough is having to overlook all this horrible stuff in my room. And we were talking, and she went off for a second, and so the phone was left with my stepdad, and we were having a chat, and I was talking to him about obviously the Anthony Bourdain video where he's just walking through the streets alone, and we were talking about that moment. And I think the one fatal flaw that people have is they might look at my stepdad and think he's not a very deep person or intelligent person because he's got tattoos, and all these different things, and he gets, he's got shit for it in the past. But he's one of the deepest, amazing people that I know. And I'm so lucky to have him as my stepdad. And we were talking about it, and he was like, that freedom you feel living in Sydney, where no one knows who you are. You can dress how you want. You can express yourself in any way you want. You can do what you want. You can have that coffee. You can make a tit of yourself by dancing in a club. All these things that you do, you can do at home. It's just at home you think people will look at you because you think maybe they know you. But that all comes from your ego, bro. People don't care. And that's one thing that Sydney has taught me. People don't really care. And honestly, why should they? Why should they care about my life? I've not given them any reason to give a shit. Why should they? And I feel like it has been so nice to be in this environment where I can realize that. Not where I can feel that, where I can realize that is a reality, not a moment. And it's the same everywhere you go. Unless you're a celebrity where people, are going to know you. No one's going to care. Right? No, I don't. Damn, I know your YouTube channel is big, bro. But if anyone's coming up to you going, DJ F3, like, why are you wearing that? You know what I mean? No one's going to do it. People are living their own life. People are already insecure enough. And the people that do say anything to you, they're people who've got too much time on their hands. And you don't even need to worry about those people. And one little thought I was having the other day was talking to one of my work colleagues about when I first started working at work. And you have that realization of, I'm not shit. Like here, I am not shit. Like this environment where everyone's honed in, they know what they're doing, like they're experienced, and you're just this completely new person. So I'm going to ask you this question, Dan. When you're in that environment of, and I'm going to quote again, you are not shit. And it is just your first time there, like you are completely, out your depth in many ways. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel excited. It makes me feel like there's something on the other side for me to learn. I think definitely in earlier times, like when I was younger, it would make me feel a bit small. But I feel like I'm in a position now where that's not the case. Like if I'm in an environment where, to be fair, I think I could definitely think of one. Earlier in the year, actually, there was a sports welcome, like the sports fair, and I was stood there with a lot of like the scholars and the club committee and like the coaches, and they were all doing their thing, and I was just there to help out. But I almost felt a bit like a ghost. Like if I was there, I was there, but if I wasn't there, nothing would change, sort of thing. And I think that's how it can make you feel, actually, when you're in an environment where you aren't shit, so to speak. If you were to leave, nothing would change. Like you almost feel a bit like a ghost. But I think when certain environments make you feel that way, you've got to ask yourself why. And I think for me, maybe in that environment, it's because, I wasn't actually physically needed, people could run it. But also I think there wasn't a lot of people, at that point, I wasn't as connected to the players in those positions as much. So they're not going to need to look out for me as much. But I think you can feel quite small when you're in positions where you feel out your depth. And, if you were in that position, things wouldn't change. Like, you haven't actually got much of a grasp on it. But I think in those positions as well, with my first answer, I think it's important to actually look at that and think, okay, I'm excited. What can I learn here? You know, if I am out of my depth, what is there? Is there room for me to grow? Why is it that I'm out of my depth? And I think these becoming actually, funny enough, I spoke to Luke about this today, about when we were talking about the ego thing. And I was speaking to my granddad about it and my grandma about when you go from primary school to secondary school, you go from being that big fish in a small pond, and then you go to being a small fish in a big pond. And, you know, at uni, like, there's so many people in the world, there's so many people at uni, like, actually sometimes making yourself small is a good thing. So, for instance, let me just give you an example. My mum once said to me, you know, compare yourself to a mountain, you're nothing to it. And often I say this phrase to myself. I say, as much as I back myself, of course, I'm confident in myself. If I ever notice I'm starting to like get a bit like, oh, I'm feeling myself a bit with this, I'm leveling up a little bit. I'm like, Dan, you're nothing yet. You're nothing. Not even yet. You're nothing. You're not anything. Because in a way to bring myself to being humble, of course, I believe I'm something. Like, you've got that belief, but there's also that balance of telling yourself, in a humble way, you're also not anything at the same time, so don't start to become cocky. I only do that so I don't become cocky. Of course, I believe in myself, and I do believe I'm something. We're all something. We've all got a meaning. But I think in those moments, it's actually quite good to bring yourself back down to earth. But how about you? How do you feel in those environments?
I'm usually quite nervous, to be honest. But then also it's important to realise that, like, a lot of the time, it's not as difficult as people make it out to be. It's important to remember that people want to put themselves on a pedestal and make themselves look good. So half the time they will tell you something is more complicated because they want you to realise they're good at what they do. And that's okay, you can do that. But it's like, even little things now, when I first started on my job, I'm like, okay. I remember someone saying something to me that time, and I'm going to leave it. But I just remember things, and I'm like, okay, now I'm actually decent at what I'm doing. You just realise certain behaviours aren't really worth thinking about. But I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I'm reading the book that I'm reading at the moment. I'm actually just about to finish it. So I don't know, Dan. I get really proud of myself when I finish a book because I struggle to focus for that long.
The Bourdain one.
It is. I struggle to focus for that long, but this book has really, really gripped me. And it's hearing about the way he deals with these busy places. And actually just reading this book has made me feel happier at work. It's made me feel a part of something. And I think that's the power of his writing, is that if you work in this industry, you now feel a part of a team. And I'm like, some of the things he talks about, like doing heroin and all these things, I'm like, I can't relate to that one bit. But the things he talks about where it's like the kitchen exchanging food for drinks from the bar, you know, all these different little things that just happen in hospitality and that we understand as people that work in it. It's like, you understand it and you're like, yeah, that makes me feel good. And when you feel part of something, it makes you want to do it more, you know? And that feeling of you ain't shit, when you feel part of a team, that's fine. Because you not being shit is fine, as long as everyone else is shit and they teach you to be the shit. So that's unfortunately, we can't name the podcast You Ain't Shit, but the point stands, Dan. And I think it's like, you know, when you enter that environment where you're unfamiliar, it's all new, it's daunting, back yourself. And ego is important, by the way, in that moment, because you do have to puff your chest out and say that you are what you are. You have to do it. You need that confidence, bro. I mean, when we worked in sales, you couldn't be like, hi, I'm just a humble man who... No, you've got to be like, this is what I'm representing. I'm good at this. But it's all about balance. Everything is good in moderation and balance.
And I think it's important I think there's a lot of strength in being humble. But then again, that we spoke about before, it's like, don't then shrink yourself down. Like, being humble is good when you shrink yourself down, because you're shrinking that ego from overriding you. But sometimes it's good as well to then bring it back up in moments where you do back yourself. This is the thing with life. There's never one answer. It's fluid. It's like a spring. One time you've got to shrink it down and be humble, and just realize, you know, you're not the shit at times because we're all just people. But also times I am the shit and I'm going to back myself. And it's that continuum, you know, it's not always going to be in the same place. Everything's fluid.
Maintaining humility does not mean you have to give away your confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I would say. So maintain your humility, keep your confidence, keep smashing it, man. Keep smashing it.
Smash it, brother.
Keep smashing it. That was episode 61 of the Making It podcast. We're back every Tuesday, 10 in the morning, GMT, UK time. If you're listening from Australia, AET, it would be, I think, 9 a.m., 9 p.m. On
9 p.m.
Wednesday. No, 9 p.m. on a Tuesday.
9 p.m.
9 p.m. on a Tuesday, AET, 10 a.m. GMT UK time. makingitpoddy@gmail.com. Send us an email. We'd always love to hear from you. And also, if you want to DM us on any of our Instagrams, TikToks, all that kind of lovely stuff, Making It Poddy across all our social medias. But that's all from me, Dan. Have a good week, mate.
Take it easy, guys. Peace out.
Ciao.